The title, the Chrematistic Waterfront. Now, bearing in mind that probably none of you speak ancient Greek as your first language, I better explain what it means. So chromatic means basically the art of getting rich. So this is about paying for environmental sustainable waterfront. Instead of using the developer's model, using a slightly different model. So the abstract. Is it possible to develop a sustainable public realm on the water that is resilient to climate change while conforming to the expected financial return of a typical waterfront development? This paper argues that by connecting the public realm to the water in its many different forms, saltwater, freshwater, stormwater, and the specific ecological environments associated with these types, they can be moved beyond the formulaic and stereotypical waterfront development into a new space. So, this is the Waitemata Harbour in Auckland. So Auckland is an unusual area because it's an isthmus, and the Waitemata Harbour, which is the right-hand harbour, which goes towards the Pacific. Waitemata is Māori word for sparkling water. Wai is water and mata is sparkling. So this is the area of downtown. The other harbour on the other side, which goes towards basically Australia, is called Monaco Harbour, and it's very, very shallow, and Monaco basically means wading birds. So we've got two very different harbours with the city in the middle. So the area that we're talking about is where you see the number 8, talking about this area here, which is called variously Wynyard Quarter, Point Precinct. So downtown is basically where the 50 is on the map. So this is a very typical development that's downtown, that's done by developers. They buy up the land, they put these 5-storey buildings on. They are super, super expensive, and because some of them have waterfront access, of course, that's seen as being very upmarket. So Wynyard Quarter is situated on the west of predominantly the city centre, although the city is actually moving westward, which is quite interesting. And this zone was undergoing quite a slow but long redevelopment, because in the 1930s they put what we call silos, which are basically oil refinery tanks which hold oil, and you can see them on the image. There's kind of bandings of these big silos. So it was used for warehousing and fishery industry, but mostly for storing fuel. So this is the city centre and Wynyard Quarter, which you can see, and the hills in the far area are the Coromandel, and the Coromandel basically protects us from bad tsunamis, which is fantastic for us. So this particular area had a master plan commissioned in 2003 by Peter Walker. He was an American architect, and what he was trying to do was connect two axes from the city centre to join the main peninsula, and then joining back west and east basically to the city centre. In 2007 it was modified by an Auckland company called Architectus, and this was the master plan that they came up with. So this is to the top of the picture, you can see the city centre, and the sort of, let's say, rectangular buildings are the proposed buildings that would go up on this site, and then the end would be a park space. So Wynyard Quarter is approximately 39 hectares. About 6 hectares are going to remain as existing marine industries, and the development site is approximately 21 hectares. So the north end is will be considered as residential. The middle is going to have a complex social program, and this is basically our building control. So the purple is the very high buildings that can currently be built, and the orange is 31 metres. So everything that you see that's basically from pink to purple can be from between 27 and 52 metres, so pretty high buildings. This is currently what Wynyard Quarter looks like. So on the right-hand image, you've got one of the silos that's still there, that's currently being used as a museum. And the green area the silo's been taken away. The bad contaminated soil has been taken away. An impermeable membrane has been put over, and then they've grassed it. But the impermeable membrane is only 200 millimetres, which is not very high. So that causes quite some problems. Auckland has won various waterfront awards for this area, and so this particular project is thinking about how we can build better and build smarter using water. So we have a lot of issues with stormwater contamination in this area because a lot of this area was reclaimed. So basically where you see the contour map and all of the pink, most of that area is reclaimed land. So we have an issue because, of course, with water rise, sea level rising, we're expecting about 1 metre to be above the mean water high tide currently. So currently the stormwater drains are only 1 metre below this reclaimed land. So of course we have a major issue because they're going to backfill. So we have a lot of problems at the moment with discharge of contaminated stormwater. Now this might not look very bad, but if you think of our harbour, which is very clean, it goes out to the Pacific Ocean. Normally it's very blue. This looks probably not so bad, but actually it's pretty bad. So stormwater contamination is a huge issue. So with the sea level rise, which is anticipated for Auckland, this particular image shows the contour map and the estimated sea level rise of 1 metre, coupled with the flooding which basically exists in Wynyard Quarter. So currently, the site is very heavily populated with impervious surface. It's got about 72% concrete on it at the moment, and only about 27% of land which is permeable, which is a huge problem. This is the original contour map of the area, and what is anticipated is, in this particular project, is to treat the water, or the stormwater. One would need around about 6 hectares of land, which would be used as a wetlands. And there would be a number of different scenarios where there'd be different pools. One set of pools that are about 1 metre, and one set of pools which are about half a metre, would be about 40-60% ratio. But this 6 hectare area is shown in green here. So this image here shows the overland flow paths of the current runoff of water from this area. And if we map that and think about how we could use that as a resource for wetlands, if we were to then dig down about 1.5 metres around these existing watercourses, so where this light blue is, we would be cutting down into the landfill that's there and creating basically a wetland area. So this is how it would look here. So the line that's going through the middle here is the stormwater that is needed, mapped against the larger areas which would be taken out as these wetland areas. So the resulting wetlands would mean that you'd have to take out around about 116,000 cubic metres of soil. We would then use that soil to raise up the area that's not in that blue to make it higher, and then basically the developers would build on that elevated platform. So this is another contour map. So the green area here could be the potential area that one could use as a developer's area. Now this here is how you've got the difference between the harbour, which is in the dark blue, the saltwater, which is in the sort of medium coloured blue, and the freshwater, which is in the lighter coloured blue, and of course the dry land. So this particular area downtown, which is in the middle of the spot, is quite far away from other areas that have got green areas. So the anticipated project would have a what Matthew is calling an eco patch, but basically it would be a regenerated area using New Zealand natives, so it would be planted basically with New Zealand natives. It would need a buffer zone of about 30 metres to prevent any further watercourse sea level rising. So once this is all mapped together, so the large green line is the buffer zone, the pale blue would be the area that is cut down to let the wetlands come in. The darker green spot would be a regeneration forest in the area. And then it's mapped with the large drainage. And you get this area here, and this is the area that's kind of quite interesting because the dark grey is the area that the developers would build on. And bearing in mind that the soil is now raised up nearly 3.7 metres, they can go relatively high. They can obviously go up to 51 metres. So this means that the developers can put in quite a reasonable sized building. So in total, the amount of money in New Zealand dollars to cost through this remediation, which would be getting rid of the contaminated soil, getting rid of the silos, putting in the new park, various things, would be 43 million New Zealand dollars. So a relatively large amount of money. But Matthew works on this, let's say, this kind of way of conceptualising developers' money by using this concept of Vancouverism. Vancouverism uses GFA, or gross floor area, and Vancouverism is a new way of city living. It has a deep respect for nature with an enthusiastic, busy, engaging, active streets and a dynamic urban life. So its typology is very tall, slim towers for density, wide separate buildings for light, air and views, and parks and walkways and spaces, and obviously great urban transportation. So this here is how it would look, mapped with the greater Auckland context. The dark green, the dark grey areas would be where the developer would build on. If you want to read the paper, honestly, it goes into such mathematical detail. Really, I'm not going to cover it because it's way too complicated. So this would be the areas extruded up with the potential for being built on, and mathematically it works out that to do this, to create a park, to create wetlands, to have salt water and a whole range of different water systems, they still have the same floor area, and it can be done, and the developers still make money, which is fantastic. So the last couple of slides are the areas extruded, but if this project was to be done in this way and not in the way that the master plan was done, we would be able to achieve a carefully crafted, vibrant waterfront development which attempts to remediate the developer's imperative of making money over the ability to have a vibrant, livable city, and in that way we could truly create a chromatic waterfront. Thank you.